welcome to Bass Gear. As always, if you like my video, please like the channel, subscribe, and we'll get some more stuff out to you. Okay, today we're going to talk about one of the best big bass baits out there, and probably one a lot of people don't fish because they just don't know a lot about them or they're intimidated by them. It's a jig. Lots and lots of money's been won on jigs. Lots of big fish are caught on jigs. The problem is they come in a zillion colors, zillion sizes, zillion variations, and people get confused. What I'm going to do today is try to unconfuse you. Okay, I'm going to make it very simple. When you're fishing a jig, there are basically, I'm going to say, 3 color schemes to stick with. Okay, it'll be something in a crawfish type of color. Now it's whatever you like. This one has some pumpkin, some gold, and a little watermelon in it. Okay, but basically it's a shade of brown. Again, this jig has some brown and some blue in it. Again, it's a shade of brown with an accent color. Then there's your standard, and there's the little guy, little black jig. Okay, so we've got shade of blacks, shades of brown, and then we're going to throw in, especially with swim jigs, or anytime you want to imitate like a shad or a herring, a white. Okay, so as long as your jig is somewhere in the shades of black, brown, or white, you got it going on. Okay, so now we've taken all the colors and taken it down to 3 colors for you to choose from. Now there are many kinds of jigs. Each has a different situation. Okay, let's get back to the swim jig. Okay, this is a 3/8 ounce swim jig. It's got a moderately heavy hook. This jig is made, well, for swimming. Okay, you're going to fish this over top of or around vegetation or wood. It's reeled with a semi-steady retrieve and typically fished on anywhere from 15, well, maybe even 12-pound mono up to 15 to 17-pound mono. 20, yes, but you have to worry about, after you go up to 20 or even braid, you have to worry about straightening out a hook. So I'll fish this on a 7-foot medium rod, and generally with about 15-pound line on the average. A good fluorocarbon. Sometimes if I'm fishing short distances, you know, short pitches and stuff, maybe even mono, because the stretch can come in handy. Okay, now, swim jig is going to have basically one of, I'm going to call it 2 trailers. It's either going to have a trailer that has action on it, like this little swim bait that I've got that's chopped off. Okay, we're going to thread it on. Okay. Now we've got a swim jig with a little swim bait tail. Now, the tail has a little contrast to it, but overall, it's still a bait fish / shad type of imitation. And you'll notice that the tail sticks out the back, but it doesn't stick out a ton. Okay, it's not like I'm putting a whole 4-inch swim bait on here. I'm probably taking 1 inch or 1.5 inches off. This way, I don't get nearly as many short strikes. I'll throw this in, and this will be fished basically with a steady retrieve. Sometimes you'll get into a little bit of grass and you'll pop it out of the grass, or you'll let it fall in a hole or something like that, but it's pretty much a steady retrieve. Okay, the other trailer that a lot of people use will be more of a non-action trailer. Now I have to say that instead of a swim bait, if you want to put something like a rage crawl on, or a double-tailed grub, a twin-tailed curly-tailed grub, also gives it a good amount of action. But here's the other basic one. Okay, a craw. And this is a black craw. You can fish, you know, different color craw or a different color swim jig. But we're going to put this black claw in here for contrast. Now, this craw, the way it is, and it's got little flat claws on it, is more of a zero action bait. It really doesn't do anything. But if you take it and shake your rod tip, okay, fish it at like a 10 o'clock position, and a slow steady stake of the rod tip, okay, the claws of this will flap out and they'll move. It's a different type of retrieve, and it's probably the original retrieve. That if you go and look at some of the older shows with guys fishing a swim jig, you watch them, they'll be reeling and shaking at the same time, reeling and shaking at the same time. And that was to give it action with basically a zero action trailer. Now, if you switch over to a trailer, like I said before, like a packer craw or maybe a rage craw or something like that, then you'll have all kinds of action. And depending on the fish's mood, it's going to be one or the other. It's either going to be a non-action type of deal that they want or an action type of trailer. Okay, and in swim jigs, I really only own 2 colors of swim jigs. Well, 3, okay? Let's call it 3. Because I do have a few in black and blue, although I rarely fish a swim jig in black and blue for some reason. I'm either fishing white or some type of pumpkin / watermelon because I'm trying to imitate a bluegill or a sunfish or a rock bass or something like that. A great imitation for either one. Okay, so that's your swim jig. Next we're going to get to your casting jig. Okay, and your typical casting jig has an archy type head, which is semi-rounded, kind of somewhere between a football type shaped head and a like a bullet type head, like a grass jig or a wood jig. Okay, most of the casting jigs are like this, and to me, I use the archy jig instead of a football jig. Now a lot of people say, oh, football. Football comes through rock a little tiny bit better than the archy style, but really not much. I own very few football jigs. I bought them when there was a big craze, but to tell you the truth, a standard casting jig with a moderate hook on it does just fine. Okay, now, trailers for this. Most of the time, this bait is going to be fished closer to the bottom, and it's either going to be hopped in short strokes, or you're going to drag it. Reel down, drag, reel down, drag, reel down, drag. Basically 2 types of trailers. And let's pick this out since we haven't shown this before. Okay, we're going to... Now this is a Berkeley Pit Boss. And we're going to cut a little bit off the end so it doesn't stick too far out the jig. We're going to thread it on. Like that. And you'll notice this jig has a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, a little bit of black. Nice color variations because, hey, who knows why, but jigs with blue on them have caught a lot of fish and won a lot of money. Okay, so here's the package. And basically, that's a jig that's going to fall to the bottom. Boom. And the claws are just going to move around a little bit. It's a very dead action type of deal. Very good for cold water. When I'm saying cold, I'm going to say under 55 degrees. Dead action trailers are very good. Or when you're just giving the bass a little look at it and popping it. Pop, pop, pop off the bottom. Because then the claws will flip up in the air, and then you'll have a lot of action out of the same trailer that basically has no action. So you can really do double or triple duty with the trailer depending on the retrieve. Again, the trailer is not way out past the jig. If you get it too far out past the jig, you'll get some short strikes, which really don't happen that much with a jig. A jig is what I would call a positive hookup type of lure, to where when you hook a fish on a jig, generally they don't get off. Okay, now, casting jig. I'll fish a casting jig up to about 3/4 of an ounce. The most popular sizes I fish will be 1/4, 3/8, half. 1/2 ounce if I'm casting a long distance and crawling it on a ledge. 1/4 ounce if I'm casting toward shoreline or shallower water. But if you have those three sizes, they will cover a majority of your fishing. Okay, what other type of trailers can we put on there? Well, for an action trailer, and this is something that I don't see a lot of other people do, we're going to put on the end of a baby brush hog. Again, your trailer can match the bait, or your trailer can contrast with the bait. That is up to you to decide, and I would base that off of the forage that you find, whether it's bluegill or crawfish. Now, you have a double-tailed action trailer, but not only is it double-tailed and gives you action, but it's got these little flippers on there that are like claws. Again, a very good trailer for a jig. So we've got your casting jig, you've got your swim jig. Another jig we're going to talk about is a flipping jig. Now, a flipping jig will probably be between anywhere from 1/4 ounce up to 3/4 of an ounce. I'll fish 3/4 of an ounce in grass and sometimes in pads, or a little bit deeper water, or if I really want the bait to fall fast. If I want a slower fall, 1/4 or 3/8 ounce jig. Now, how do I decide whether I want a slower fall or a faster fall? Okay. A faster fall gives bass a quick look at a bait, and then it's gone. They have to make up their mind and decide. Believe it or not, a faster fall, a lot of times in a cold front condition, where you would think they'd want something real slow to fall in front of them because they're lethargic, and then they have time to walk over there. Yeah, they don't have legs, but they have time to get over to the bait, look at it, inspect it, and eat it. That's not what they're going to do. Okay, they're going to go over there, they're going to inspect it, and chances are they're going to turn away from it. What you want in this situation is a bait that falls down in front of them, hops a couple times like it's going to get away. That creates a reaction strike. Now, flipping and pitching, most times, as I say most, I'll want a more zero action or dead action, whatever you want to call it, type of bait. It's going to go down, boom, the claws are going to flare as it hits the bottom, it's going to pop a couple times and then get taken out of there. The fish really don't have time to inspect it. Now, if you've got nice, steady weather, if the fish are aggressive, then I might go over to something like, well, here's a single tail trailer, okay, like a single tail grub trailer. And you could do a single or a double. Okay, and you'll notice that most of the time I'm picking a trailer that's going to somewhat contrast with the color of the jig. Okay, so now we've got a purplish type of trailer on here, kind of a peanut butter and jelly type of look. Okay, but it's got a curly tail. This is going to fall. Every time you're going to pull it, or if you're going to hop it or whatever, it's going to go brrr, brrr, brrr. It's going to put off vibrations. Okay, aggressive fish like that. Okay, fires them up. So again, basically two colors, or well, three colors. Your blacks, your browns, And of course, if we're going to include black and blue as a third color, we'll call it third color. But 99% is going to be a shade of brownish green or brown, or it's going to be a shade of black. You can have whatever accent colors in there you prefer. It all depends on the crayfish, crawfish, crawdads, mudbugs, whatever they're called in your lake or river. Whatever the colors they tend to be, just go turn over a few rocks, find a few of them, and you'll have a pretty good idea. Okay. We've got your swim jig. Got your casting jig. We've got your flipping and pitching jig. Third jig I'm going to talk about is your finesse jig. Like, for lack of a better description, your Strike King Bitsybug, which is both of these. This is a Bitsy Flip. It's got a little bit thicker hook. And this is your standard Bitsybug. I catch a load of fish on a Bitsybug, especially in cold water or in highly pressured waters. Now, my #1 trailer for your little Bitsybug, again, in a shade of black, in a shade of green or brown, whatever you prefer, greenish brown, whatever you want to call it. If you're colorblind, it don't make any difference. But this bait can be deadly. Fished on 6-pound test, 8-pound test, something like that. My #1 trailer for it is going to be a piece of a 4-inch plastic worm that's cut off. Now, depending on whether it's cold water or warm water, scissors, I'm going to cut me off a little trailer here, a couple of them. I'm going to put 2 of them on. Okay, I'm going to match the trailers here for a change. Okay. I'm going to take about 2.5 inches of a plastic worm trailer on there. Put it on there. And it's a little cockeyed, but hopefully you get the idea. Let me push, there we go, nice and straight now. Okay, so I've got this little jig and I've got this little curly tail trailer. This is a bait with the curly tail that either gets a bite as it heads to the bottom, or as I slowly swim it just at or above the bottom, kind of like a slow roll type of deal. Swim it, lift it, maybe shake it over a stick, and the fish will come up from behind it and pop. Generally a solid little thump, boom, and a little bit of weight. Fish have got it. Set the hook. Good sweep set. Not a snap, but a sweep with the lighter line. Okay? Great deal. Now, if the water is really cold, I'm going to fish this other trailer on a Bitsybug. I'm going to fish a straight tail trailer. And this one's going to blow your mind a little bit. So who out there in dirty water has not caught fish on black with a chartreuse tail? Okay? We got a little black with a chartreuse tail trailer. Okay, hanging off the back of our Bitsybug. And what we're going to do is, this skirt's a little long for me. See how it's a little bit longer than the hook? Okay, I preferred it. It's going to not quite stick out as far. So I'm going to take most of the strands, maybe not all of them, but most of them, and we're going to cut them off about even with the hook. Okay, tail sticks out. Now when this hits the bottom, it's going to go to the bottom and boop, pop up in the air and wave. Excellent cold water bait. Very compact. Fish love it. Again, early in the year, very heavy pressured waters, great dock bait. Even a good bait for swimming smallmouths. Okay, you get smallmouths out on a little rocky flat or some grass on a flat. You can take your little jig, little finesse jig, like I said, throw it out and swim it just off the bottom or barely on the bottom like a slow roller retrieve. Deadly. Well, my friends, that's jig fishing in a nutshell. Let me summarize it. Basically, there's only a few kinds of jigs. There's your swim jig that I fish in either a white, a brownish type of bluegill color, or a black. Your casting jig, basically only need it, like I said, need it in a bluegill type color, brownish, greenish, or something with black in it. Flippin' and pitching jig, again, brownish or greenish, or something black. And finally, your finesse jig, brownish or greenish, something black. Hey, I'm Steve for Bass Gear. Hope you like this video. Wow, I'm about out of breath. Hey, if you like the videos, like I said, please subscribe, like the channel. Give me a contact if you have any questions. I'm Steve from Bass Gear.